I'm sure you remember the whole January 6th protest, and then obviously Jon Schaffer in the metal community. Jon Schaffer, Iced Earth, was obviously caught up in that for a bit, and honestly, he was pardoned, but the lawsuit itself was officially dropped. And you know what's interesting? A lot of the hate for the guy has kind of dissipated over the last 4 years. Like, we did this discussion about him, and I was expecting like half people worshiping the guy and half the people coming at me and everybody there. But realistically, a lot of that hatred has gone away. And,
should never been there. And I can elaborate on that if you want.
Should have never been. Oh, you mean
hated the guy? You should have never hated the guy.
Yeah. Okay. I was trying. Okay.
Yeah. I don't mean he should have been at the Capitol. I mean, you should have never hated him, because if there's one thing that this country's founded on, right? First Amendment, we have the right to free speech. We have the right to, freedom of religion, press, speech, and you have the right to assemble and redress your government. You have the right to protest against your government.
Yeah.
And that January 6th gathering, what was it if not a redress and a protest of what seems, and most likely to everyone with with an ounce of brain, know that election was rigged. That election was not. I mean, the election, the votes that were tallied, the most in history, right? Nobody's voted that many times, happened during the pandemic with mail-in, write-in ballots, which they've shown instance after instance. We've all seen the videos of the boxes coming out at 3 a.m, 4 a.m, after the polling places were long closed and the polling workers had gone home. Mm-hmm. We saw the boxes coming out from under the table. So this, the election was the most fraudulent, and I think all elections have a modicum, a degree of fraud in them. It's been proven. Every election cycle, there are people that get arrested for fraud and for fake votes and voting more than once, not voting in the proper districts, and not being eligible to vote and making votes. So this happens all the time. But I think it happened in record numbers during the COVID year, the COVID election. And we saw videos and all manner of evidence of it. And people were not happy. Now, people are unhappy about all kinds of things in this country, right? The George Floyd killing, the death of George Floyd. I wouldn't say the killing, because he killed himself when he swallowed the methamphetamine or whatever it was that he had, the fentanyl. He killed himself. That was a suicide. I'm throwing all these zingers out there for the people. Dare he say that? George is a saint. He didn't kill himself. He was murdered by the cop. He was saying he couldn't breathe when he was sitting in the car, right? Anyway, so people protest all kinds of things. People protested the death of George Floyd. People protest Ben Shapiro speaking on campus. Milo Yiannopoulos giving a speech at the UT, whatever. Okay. So if people can protest those things, which are fairly insignificant in the big picture, why in the world would we think that they would be led to or motivated or want to protest something like an election that appeared fraudulent, right?
Yeah.
Who would want to protest such a thing? I was outraged myself, but I didn't have time to go protest in Washington. I've got things to do, But,
my whole thing was that John took the cheese off the mousetrap they laid out for everybody there.
Oh yeah, he did. And
that was really my only contention with it, was that by doing that, and it was an emotional, like I said, I just recorded an episode on this. It was an emotion. He let his emotions get the best of him, because I know the guy's smarter than that, probably should have realized that. And he didn't get the grand tour, but they basically, I actually read the lawsuit He's in there for about a fifth of a page, for walking in, one of the first people that walked in with a water bottle and a can of bear spray, never sprayed at anybody. And he took the cheese right off the mousetrap, man. And that derailed his career, obviously. And then, it put his band members in a bad spot.
His life, not just his career, his entire life. They prison him and they messed with him. Oh my God. But let me say this to that. Okay. They baited the trap. He took the cheese. Great analogy.
Mm-hmm. I'd like to take credit for it, but actually one of the other people in the discussion said that, but it's the best analogy I could think of.
It's a good one. But here's the unfortunate part. The government, our government, which we're there to redress, which the people that were there to redress, they shouldn't be baiting traps. Did they bait traps for the people burning down when BLM was burning cities across America for an entire summer? When Seattle was setting up its autonomous zone, were they baiting traps for these people? No. When they were burning courthouses in Oregon, when they were killing Trump supporters in the street and on the streets of Portland, was the government baiting traps for people? Not at all. No cheese laid, no traps. It was just they're just people peacefully protesting. Why is it that the only time it was a concern, the only time civil unrest was a concern, was when it was on Washington's doorstep, when it was on DC's doorstep? Yeah. Why was that?
Yeah, we talked about other government buildings getting taken over.
Absolutely, and it happened as early as October 7th, 2 years ago, when after October 7th, 2 years ago, when Hamas invaded Israel and killed the people at that music festival and raided those kibbutzes and murdered families with children and wives, raped and killed and maimed. When they did all that, and then people were, they wanted peace. They wanted to end to the hostilities from Israel, and they invaded these government buildings. No, I didn't see any arrests. I didn't see anybody saying, not J6, but whatever that date was.
Yeah, they were in the. Well, I gotcha.
Spaces. So it's hypocritical.
Yeah,
the government only traps for its own citizenry, and then holding them for 4 years without punishment, and not a single person charged or prosecuted. Not a single one was charged with insurrection. Go figure. No,
I read. I think that the charge was seditious conspiracy. That's actually what was in the lawsuit. And weirdly enough, when I read the transcripts, I mentioned this I actually mentioned this in my episode. A lot of these people from these different organizations, a lot of them didn't even know each other. They were just lumping them all in this giant thing. That it was quite interesting the way that they worded it. And here the dude, he got sentenced to like $1,600 in probation. Then he was pardoned, I don't know, like 3 months later, right? So like, the hatred for the guy has gone down quite a bit. But no, I agree with you though. I get it. But we had a long year that year, man. Everybody's tensions were really high and emotions are running high. But what I noticed is a lot of the same people on the Facebook page that were going after him in the comments when I posted about it, because I have this thing where I don't like to say anything about somebody unless they are able to make a statement to defend themselves, right? And I waited to talk about it again after he made a statement, and a lot of those same people, they're just like, dude, they're over it. They just want Iced Earth to come back, dude. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's pretty much how that went. But I think everybody's tensions were high, and it was a pretty crazy time for sure. But yeah, I mean, how do you feel being involved in the music scene? How do you think before we get off here, how do you think he's going to be received?
I think he'll be forgiven and he'll be received just fine. But from his perspective, I would look at, Hansi Kirsch from Blind Guardian immediately abandoned him, with the Demons and Wizards project. Yeah. People that knew he's not a bad guy. He's just a patriot. He loves his country.
Yeah.
And to to vilify him the way that they did. It was almost like the monkeys all going crazy, and when something happens in the lab, and then the monkeys all go,
yeah,
they all go nuts, and then they calm down.
I know Hansi came out, it had to be a couple years ago, saying the guy deserved the second chance. I think what was happening with him specifically is that everybody was going at him on the Blind Guardian page, and he had, you know how the media is over in Europe, dude. He had no idea what truly had gone on, and it was kind of like, okay, I've been friends with this guy for 30, 40 years. I'm going to kind of like say I'm done with everything and then figure out what the hell's going on and go from there. That's my interpretation. Just knowing him, that's what he did, because he has no idea what's going on. Because he's never really made any statement aside from the fact he thinks the guy deserves a second chance. So that's what it is. And I don't even know what his political beliefs are, but obviously to come out and say that, I just think that he had no idea what happened, and he couldn't communicate with Jon because Jon was in solitary confinement. How are you going to talk to him? So it's kind of like, I don't know how to handle this. I'm not going to see anything until I figure out what happened. And that's kind of what happened with him. But I'll tell you what, dude, some of the things that they were making on the page, the Blind Guardian page, it's something I discussed, were disgusting comments.
So stupid. It's so stupid.
Absolutely horrible.
You have to do with Jon Schaffer, other than the association with the singer and the guy. But, it's like this. The internet talks a lot of shit. There's so much shit talked on. Like you read a Metallica board or a Metallica, Metallica sucks and Kirk sucks and Lars can't play and James is an alcoholic and this guy's a loser and this blah, 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 blah. And they all talk shit, right? And then I go to a Metallica concert. I'm not the world's biggest Metallica fan. I mean, I could take them or leave them, but I'll go to the shows. I've been to the last 2 or 3 shows at times I've been through Dallas, and the place is packed to the rafters more than any other heavy metal band I've ever seen.
That's the squeaky wheel, George.
Yeah.
The one squeaky wheel out of 4,000 wheels on the shopping carts is what that is.
And so you have people, that's the thing of the internet. Same thing with Kiss, Motley Crue, whatever. You've got people that talk ungodly shit about all these bands online. They make fun of the people in them. They make fun of Gene Simmons. They make fun of, the Maiden guys, Nico, Yannick, whatever. And then you go to the concerts and they're full, and it's like, clearly there's a lot of people sitting at home talking a lot of shit, but it has no bearing in reality.
And they talk all that smack, and you know what they do? They help the band and keep the band's name out there.
Exactly. They just make you bigger than you are. They make you larger.
That's why Gene Simmons probably likes that.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's like you said, even bad publicity is good publicity. Just spell my name right. And, but now, there are instances where it can, backfire against you. Sometimes people want to, they want to.
Oh, no, I gotcha. Yeah. Well, hey man, I gotta be honest. It was a fun conversation. Definitely always a blast. And I'm really excited for you to have this record deal, to be honest with you. I think that you're going to have a lot of success with this, and I think it's long overdue.
Well, I tend to agree with that sentiment. I appreciate it coming from your words. I've been a follower of your show for a long time and a guest on your show several times. And, I hope to continue to do so in the future. And, I think that, as the years have passed, we've got a nice little friendship going, and I dig you. I respect you. And I thank you for having me on your show.
The only thing I'm going to ask is if I somehow have a burned CD copy of the first Aska album, that you don't take it away from me.
Oh, no. You don't want to. Trust me, you don't want that. Maybe the second one. You might like the second one better.
No, I like the second one. I've heard them both.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, let me see. Because in our mind, when Keith Knight and myself have discussed it, we're like, they're not far off.
No,
we will make them available to the public again. So
the second album's better. That's just my opinion.
Right.
Most debut albums really aren't usually the band's greatest records anyway. So, but yeah, the first album is omnidirectional. There's a lot of different ways that thing goes. The second album is a lot more refined. So, but anyhow,
the production is shit on that first album, and it's honestly, I always came, man. It sounded way better when we were recording it than when the guy mixed it at the end and put it out. It was just too wet, too sappy. It didn't. And of course, it was our first time in a real recording studio, so we didn't know what the fuck we did. But we learned a lot from our mistakes on the first record, corrected them with the second record. That's why you hear on that second record, it's a lot more. It's a drier production, a lot more Rick Rubin, more. It's still kind of multi-directional, because we had three guys singing. We had three different vocalists, and each one writing in his style to his strengths. But I think the genesis, the seeds were there for everything, and it went from there.
Well, anyhow, my dude, thanks for the compliments again. It's always a blast.
Always fun with you, brother. Always fun. And one of the things I like about talking with you, you don't shy away from the difficult subjects that some other people. Oh no, that's too touchy. That's too firebrand. Oh, we don't want to talk about that. You go right in for it, and that's what makes your show so interesting, and why people want to listen to it.
Well, I just
top the hot topics.
I just let people tell their story.
Yeah, but those, when you have roundtable discussions about Jon Schaffer, or you have a discussion about Iron Savior and their choice, and telling your opinion on. These are those hot topic buds that I think metal fans want to talk about, that some people shy away from, which you don't. You dive right into the pool, and as it should be. And you're not like crazy one way or the other. You're very centered and very thoughtful with your commentary, and it's refreshing. I mean, it's refreshing to see somebody like us that's not scared to go into the lion's den and throw out some of these tasty bits of meat.
Sure.
Lions.
Well, hey man, it was great. And I can't wait to see this new video you have coming out. So
it'll be fun. But remember, it's been butchered. We had to take all the good stuff out. The end was just brilliant, but we had to take all that stuff out because freaking YouTube. Well, we may do down the line is on a different platform like Vimeo or something. We might release the uncut version
or Rumble
on there. Yeah, or Rumble or somewhere, and put out the safe one for the people that get offended and cry, and then put the other one on the platforms that say anything goes. But anyway, thank you, Tony. Good talking to you. And anybody that wants to get a copy of the Aska album, Night Strike, just go to askahq.com. You can buy copies all day and night there, autographed copies even. And if you want to start beginning the 21st, the music will be available on all Spotify, all the platforms where you can buy it, Apple and all the download places where people go to buy online music, and get it, from BraveWords and all that stuff. So it'll be great, man.
Hey everybody, Tony here from the Metal Command podcast. Again, I appreciate your support. Since 1998, I have hosted this show in one form or another, starting off in radio and now in the podcast format. Again, thanks for watching. And if you like what you see and hear on this show, by all means, please hit the subscribe button, hit the little bell to be notified anytime I do post a video. And if you see this program on any other form of social media, please give me a follow there. Again, I always appreciate your support.